Hello everybody, I'm Sarah and I'm a recorder player. Today's video is all about sight reading. How to improve your sight reading, some tips, tricks and exercises. This one was also a request from one of you, from Louise Finlay, so thank you very much for asking for this. Sight reading is actually how I learnt to play the recorder. I had a bit of a weird path into playing recorder. I didn't have recorder lessons until very late, so I learnt to play through a Saturday morning recorder group, and I just arrived there every week and they put new music in front of me and we had to read it. As a result, by the time I finally got around to recorder lessons when I was 17, 18, my tone and articulation were quite rubbish, but my sight reading and my rhythm was excellent. Sight reading needs practice. It's a skill that the more you do, the better it gets. A common misconception with sight reading is that you have to do everything on the spot. There are lots of ways in which you can prepare, so by the time you're actually playing the piece of music, you have in effect practiced it. In this video, we're going to look at all the different things you can do to help your sight reading in the week before, in a few minutes before, and in 30 seconds before playing. The week before. So imagine you play in a group or an ensemble, or you know that you're going to a rehearsal where you have new music, or you have a sight reading exam even. What are the things you can do to help improve your sight reading in the meantime? The first thing you can do is lay your groundwork. Know your scales inside out. So much music is based upon scales, arpeggios and broken chords. Baroque music, Renaissance music, lots of jazz music. So if you're going to be playing this kind of repertoire, prepare by knowing your scales. You can practice each scale in so many different ways, from the simple scale up and down, obviously up as high as you can, down as low as you can, the arpeggio, and then breaking the chord up, the scale in thirds. In every combination, if you know your scales really inside out, that means when you meet a passage in the piece, aha, that's an arpeggio going up, there's a scale going down, there's an arpeggio in G, there we go to F. Your fingers already know all of these patterns inside out. Your brain doesn't have to think about it anymore. Patterns is another staple of being able to sight read. Get a piece of manuscript paper and try and invent a pattern of, say, 5 notes. Then you take that pattern and you play it starting on every note. You're transposing up and down. Wonders for transposition skills, and make sure you know that pattern inside out. And it's also really good to be getting independent and inventing your own exercises. That means you're not always relying on a book. I would say the most important thing in sight reading is rhythm and feeling the pulse. If you play one wrong note, that is much less disturbing than if you get out of rhythm, because then you lose your place. This is especially true if you're playing with other people. In order to practice patterns of rhythms, try taking a piece and looking for a bit of a tricky rhythm, and you can highlight it and put your metronome on and loop that rhythm. Try and internalize as many different rhythms as possible, especially strange syncopated rhythms. I just dropped my book. This means that when you come and meet these rhythms in a session where you have to sight read, you know them already and you're not having to count it out every time. A book that I really like for this, it's the series called Altblockflötenreise. sorry about my German, the treble recorder or alto recorder Journey by Daniel Hellbach. What they do is highlight every time a new rhythm comes. For example, here, I'm going to take this rhythm and I'm going to loop it to internalize it. So set your metronome on. You can also clap it. Or sing it. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Or play it transposing up a step every time. This feeling of rhythm and feeling the pulse, it's so important to know where you are. A nice exercise for this can be to set your metronome on, take a piece and play just the first note of every bar. Let's see, I am going to do this exercise with Handel's sonata in G major, the last movement, the Bourrée. I'm going to play just the first note of every bar. Now I'm going to play the first and the last note. And by now you can also get a bit of a sense of the direction of the music, how it's all structured together, which is really nice. From here, let's do the first and the third beat of every bar. And you notice every time before I start, I'm feeling the tempo and I only start playing when I know exactly how fast I'm going. Actually, this movement is a really nice example. We start off, we immediately have a whole load of scales. This scale here, and then we have a patterns, 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 everything is patterns. And the main thing to think of when you're practicing all of this, if you make a wrong note, keep going. Imagine you are in a rehearsal situation, they're handing out the music and you have a few minutes before you're going to start playing. I sometimes mark up my music for the rhythm. I have two methods of doing this. One is quite, that speaks for itself. The other is a weird method that I've kind of invented over time, but it really works for me. If it's a complicated rhythm, I like to split the bar up into separate beats so I can kind of see where everything is happening. So we're looking at Handel's sonata in G major, opus 1, number 5. And I'm just going to take my pencil and split each bar in half. So we have da, da, and then we have here. It just really helps me to have an overview where the half of the bar is. That means even if you lose your place, try and keep feeling the pulse and just read along the beats until you get to a point where you can come back in. So if you're out, you can think 3, 4 and come on the 1. My own method that really helps me is this. If I have an offbeat, so exactly on the half of the beat, I write a little cross above the note, and if a note is on the beat, I do a circle. This really helps me. So here we have an example from a contemporary piece of music. It's called Rotations by Rokus von Roosendael. It's quite rhythmically tricky in the second movement. So here, as you can see, I've split each bar into beats so I can see exactly where each quarter note beat is. These notes fall exactly on the half beat, so I put the X above them, and these notes are on the beat, so I put a little circle above them. That means a lot of the notes, when I'm reading them, I don't actually have to count them. I can look and be like, oh, that's on the half beat. Ba, ba. Oh, with the circle, that's on the beat. Ba. I am always a big fan of clapping the music through. The Handel Bourrée again. I'm just going to clap it through. And in your clapping, you can also start to feel the phrase. Now, this means that you've practiced the rhythm without having to worry yet about the fingers. You've given yourself a foundation. Imagine you have 30 seconds until you have to play. Someone has plopped a piece of music on your stand. What do you do? The good news is you can actually prepare a lot. I would calmly take 30 seconds to look and note the following things. Look at the time signature. Does it change? Look at the tempo. Already try and feel this. It doesn't have to be exact, but if it's 50, 60, you know it's quite relaxed. If it's then 130, you can start feeling a bit energetic. This is an important one. Look at the key. And you can also play these. So if you have two flats in the key signature, just play them to get them into your fingers. Look at the form. How long is the piece? Check that it doesn't continue over the other side of the page. Look if there are repeats, if there's a da capo that you have to go back to somewhere else. Try and understand where you have to be at all times in the piece so that you're not like... Look for rests. If you have a significant amount of rest, can you see what other people are doing? If you have a score, try and look for a cue from one of the other people. And if you don't, you can always ask the person next to you, hey, I have 2 bars rest here, what do you have in that part? Look for dynamics. The very first time through, it doesn't have to be ultra refined, but try and look if there's a big loud section and then a piano section. And then look for unusual events. Hopefully by now you've got all your scales down, you've got all your arpeggios and your patterns, and you're like, oh, that's this, that's this, that's this, that's this. Oh, there's a moment where it goes, brrr. Look for the moment where that unusual or difficult passage ends. That's your safety net. That means if you get there and you think, I can't play this, you can wait those 3 beats and come back in. So, sight reading, practice it often and regularly. There are a lot of things you can do to prepare for it in the meantime, but when you're there in the moment, relax, breathe and go. Thank you for watching right to the end of this video. I hope you found this a bit useful for how to practice your sight reading. I'd love to hear what you thought of it, so leave me a comment below. And if you'd like to keep updated with these videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel on the little button below.